Today's conversation dives into one of those moments that shakes us to our core: the unexpected, the unplanned, the life-altering. It's inspired by Brent's Rivr Notes post, Navigating the Unexpected. We'll explore what happens in the aftermath of a sudden crisis, how support shows up in ways we never imagined, and what it really means to lean in, whether you're the one who needs help or the one who's ready to offer it. This isn't just a story about recovery. It's about community, connection, and the quiet strength we find in each other when everything else feels uncertain. I'm Andy, your Rivr Conversations host, and part of the AI team working alongside Brent, the creator of Rivr Notes, and this podcast. Rivr Conversations is an extension of Brent's popular weekly newsletter, Rivr Notes. Each week, two of our expert Rivr guides sit down to reflect on the latest note, sharing insights, takeaways, and stories that explore leadership, performance, and wellness in a grounded, thoughtful way. With that in mind, let's step into the Rivr and hear what our guides uncovered in this week's journey.
Hello, everyone. I am excited about today's conversation. We're going to take a closer look at a recent edition of Brent's Rivr Notes newsletter.
Ah, yes. That one really struck a chord, didn't it?
It really did. What stood out to me was how this, very personal experience opens up these bigger ideas, about support, connection.
And how we deal with those unexpected curveballs life throws.
Exactly. And it connects, I think, to themes we often touch on: leadership, performance, wellness, but from a very human angle.
Definitely. It shows how a personal story can, shed light on principles that apply much more broadly. This newsletter gives us that intimate viewpoint first.
Right.
And then kind of zooms out to the bigger lessons.
Yeah. And hopefully what you, the listener, can get from this is maybe a deeper sense of why it's so crucial to lean on others sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And just as importantly, how vital it is to be the person who shows up for others.
Absolutely. It works both ways. These ideas are, pretty relevant everywhere, work, home, you name it.
So true. Okay. So the newsletter kicks off with a really vivid scene. Sets the stage quite dramatically.
It does, yeah. You're right there. Beaver Creek, Colorado. Beautiful ski day, you imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And then, bam, this sudden, really jarring event.
Yeah.
A bad fall while skiing.
And Brent describes this intense pain and that instant thought, I wasn't okay.
Yeah, that moment of realization. It's stark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going from enjoying the slopes 1 minute to knowing something seriously wrong the next.
It really is. And right then, in that really vulnerable spot, something pretty key happens. He mentions someone he didn't know that well.
Right, a relatively new acquaintance. But here's the thing. They turned out to be an experienced wilderness first responder.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. Someone who had the specific skills needed right then.
Mm-hmm.
And they just sort of took charge.
Calmly assessing, getting ski patrol, managing the transport in the toboggan.
It really shows how help can just materialize, sometimes from unexpected people, and how critical specific expertise can be.
Definitely. And the actual injury, it turned out to be quite serious.
Yeah, a broken neck. The newsletter doesn't shy away from how close it was to being much, much worse.
That part really hit me. The doctor saying he was lucky he could still walk, let alone ski again.
It really underscores, how fragile things can be,
Yeah.
how quickly life can change, and then emergency surgery within 24 hours.
Wow, just like that.
A really rapid, intense sequence of events.
And it's after this initial shock, this medical emergency, that the newsletter really shifts gears, doesn't it? It moves into what Brent calls the remarkable power of support.
Yes, and that's where the deeper lessons about connection, about relying on others, start to really come through.
It's interesting how he contrasts that initial instinct many of us have, that I've got this mentality, especially people who, value being independent.
No, absolutely, that self-reliance thing.
Yeah.
But then the reality hits. Dealing with something like a broken neck, the pain, the emotional toll, it makes that go-it-alone approach seem, pretty impossible.
It really does. And it makes you think about how we're sometimes taught that asking for help is like a weakness.
Exactly. But the newsletter presents this totally different view, because what happened next was this amazing, almost overwhelming wave of support from family, friends, colleagues.
He calls it the village that appeared. Such a powerful image.
It really is, especially considering, as he mentions, they'd moved relatively recently, didn't have a huge local network yet.
Right. You'd think that might make it harder to get that kind of help mobilized.
You would, but people drove for hours, apparently. sat with him in the hospital, stepped up massively to help his wife with the kids, the house, all that practical stuff.
It wasn't just let me know if you need anything, was it? It was actual tangible action.
Precisely. People just showed up and did things.
And that line in the newsletter, it really jumped out at me. They didn't ask permission. They didn't wait for an invitation. They leaned in.
That's it. That's the core of it, isn't it? That proactive leaning in. It speaks to something really fundamental, I think, about community and helping each other.
And this personal story then becomes a kind of launch pad for this broader idea, this principle of leaning in, which obviously goes way beyond just, major accidents.
Right. The newsletter connects it to work, to community life, just everyday situations.
Makes you think about work, for instance. How often do we hold back from asking for help on a project? Maybe worried it makes us look like we can't handle it.
Yeah, but Brent reframes that, saying, recognizing your limits and letting others step in with their strengths. That's actually smart. That's good leadership even.
And it's not just about getting help, is it? The flip side is just as important.
Totally. Offering support, seeing someone struggling, and actually asking, hey, what can I do? Not just thinking it.
That proactive part again, not waiting to be asked.
Yeah. Being observant, stepping forward. That core idea, don't wait for permission to help. Just step in. It sounds simple, but it's really powerful.
So this whole experience, the accident, the recovery, the support, it eventually led him to reflect on it more formally, right? Through a TEDx talk.
Yes, exactly. A few years down the line, he got the chance to share this story on a TEDx stage.
And he shared it with a friend, which adds another layer.
It did. They apparently focused quite a bit on male vulnerability. Men talking about needing help, expressing emotion, which isn't always encouraged,
That's a really important angle. And what's striking is how even years later, just talking about the community support brought up strong emotions for him.
It shows how deep that impact goes, doesn't it? How much those connections matter, especially when you're going through something tough.
It really pushes back against that narrative we sometimes absorb about being totally independent, self-sufficient all the time.
Yeah, the talk and the newsletter really emphasize interdependence instead, this idea that we do need each other.
And that core message comes through so clearly. It's okay to need help. It's okay to lean on others.
And that slightly counterintuitive point, too, that allowing others to help you isn't just good for you, it's actually a gift to them.
Right. It lets them feel useful, connected, purposeful.
Gives them that satisfaction of making a difference for someone they care about. It builds that reciprocal bond, even if it feels one-sided in the moment of crisis.
So then the newsletter kind of pans out again, reminding us that life, well, it's unpredictable.
Yeah. Stuff happens, right? Accidents, health scares, losing a job, things we don't see coming.
And it's totally normal in those moments to feel completely overwhelmed, like you just can't handle it all.
Definitely. But the big lesson from Brent's story is about the people around you. The strength, the generosity that can surface. It can be genuinely surprising.
And comforting, I imagine. But it's not just about observing that generosity. There's a responsibility there, too.
Right. The newsletter really highlights that. When we're the ones in a position to help, we need to lean in and support those who are struggling. Keep that cycle going.
Whether that's something practical, like cooking a meal or watching kids.
Or covering a shift at work, maybe. Or sometimes it's just being there, sitting with someone in silence, just offering presence.
Simple acts, but they mean so much. And this leads to the idea of the ripple effect, which the newsletter title mentions.
Exactly. Receiving that kind of support himself made him want to be more intentional about giving it, paying it forward.
So it inspires more proactivity in looking out for others.
Yeah, which brings us back to that central theme, I think. Getting through the tough, unexpected stuff in life. It's not just about how strong you are individually. It's about connection. It's about mutual support.
We're sort of all in it together, navigating these things.
That's a good way to put it.
And for anyone listening who wants to hear Brent tell more of this story himself, the newsletter points to his TEDx talk. It's called Everyone Has a Story to Tell. What's Yours?
Right. And apparently that talk goes even deeper into the power of community friendship.
Reinforcing that idea that even when we feel really vulnerable, we're not actually alone.
Exactly.
So if we boil down this edition of Rivr Notes, the big insight is really about that profound two-way street of support, isn't it? Giving it and receiving it during hard times.
Yeah. It really is. And it makes you think about your own life, doesn't it? Times you've needed help, times you've given it.
Absolutely. And maybe that's the final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Think about those unexpected challenges, maybe ones you faced or ones people in your life are facing now. How can you be maybe a little more intentional about leaning in, both asking for help when you need it and offering it proactively to others? Goodbye until next time.
That's it for this week's episode of Rivr Conversations. Speaking on behalf of Brent and myself, big thanks to our expert Rivr guides for another thoughtful discussion. We always appreciate the unique perspectives they bring to these conversations. To close out each Rivr conversation, I like to describe the photo featured in the Rivr Notes newsletter. It's not just a stock image. It comes from a real adventure. After all, the best ideas often come from staying curious, embracing new perspectives, and engaging with the world around us. This week's photo was taken high above the tree line on a morning when winter was holding nothing back. The mountains are blanketed in fresh snow, thick, undisturbed, and impossibly soft-looking. Layers of ridgelines stretch out into the distance, each one fading slightly into the next under a sky heavy with low-hanging clouds. Closer in, snow-covered pines stand tall and silent, their branches weighed down by the storm's most recent gift. It's one of those scenes that feels both vast and intimate, like the whole world is pausing for just a moment to breathe. You can almost feel the cold in your lungs, hear the crunch of snow underfoot, and sense the quiet, deep and echoing, like only the backcountry can offer. It's beautiful, yes, but it's also humbling. A reminder that nature, like life, is full of power, unpredictability, and moments of stillness that ask us to pay attention. If you'd like to read the full Rivr Notes article, including all the amazing photographs, you can find it at onrivr.com. That's Rivr without an E. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts so you never miss a conversation. Before we go, a quick reminder. The opinions and viewpoints expressed in this podcast are solely those of the presenters and our AI companions, sharing personal reflections and perspectives. We're not legal experts, medical professionals, or therapists. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only, so please consult the appropriate professionals when you need advice or support. Thanks again for listening. Rivr Conversations is an On Rivr LLC production.